Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the essential things that you should keep in your vehicle to be ready for any sort of roadside emergency. And look, although there's potentially hundreds of things you could keep in your car to be prepared for literally anything, I'm going to focus on the top items that I keep in my car personally that have really gotten me out of a lot of jams. Let's get into it. First thing I would suggest is a glass breaker and seatbelt cutter, because this can really save you in an emergency situation. The ability to escape swiftly could mean the difference between life and death. There's a sharp blade behind this cover that will safely cut your seatbelt. Just press the tip of the tool against the corner of a side window, and the spring-loaded breaker shoots out and shatters the window with minimal effort. If your car flips over and rolls, everything in your vehicle is going to be thrown around. So it's really important to attach this somewhere in your vehicle. Now I would suggest adding something like a lanyard so you can attach this to your driver's side door handle, the rear view mirror, or even your headrest. That way you can grab it in an emergency and know exactly where it will be. Nowadays, many vehicles are equipped with laminated glass for the windshields and the driver and passenger side doors. This type of glass does not shatter easily and may require significant force or specialized tools like a saw to remove. So remember, if you're trying to escape from a car and you have a glass breaker tool like this, and you try it a few times on the window and it doesn't work, that probably means that it's laminated. Try to get to the back of the vehicle and break a different window. Keeping a multi-tool in your vehicle is essential for doing basic repairs, and for years I've had this old school Leatherman in the door of my car, but I really think it's time for an upgrade. It would be ideal to upgrade to a more modern Leatherman like the Wave Plus, or my favorite tool, the Surge. The problem is, this costs $120 and this is $150. That's a lot of money to spend on something that is a just-in-case kind of tool that's mostly just going to be sitting in your car and could be stolen. Fortunately, nowadays you can pick up an inexpensive plier-based tool that might cost as little as a quarter of the price of the Leatherman equivalent and will do the same job. The WORKPRO 18-in-1 multi-tool is an affordable Leatherman Wave clone that gives you spring-loaded pliers, knife, file, saw, scissors, and multiple screwdrivers for only $30. You can get this for as little as $25 on sale, and that is a great deal compared to the $120 for the Wave Plus. As an upgrade pick, the BIBURY 32-in-1 Multitool Pro is an awesome tool if you can pick it up for $40 on sale like I did. This is a Leatherman Surge clone that adds a full-size bit exchanger with a set of 8 double-sided bits and has more capable tools, including the ability to hold any T-shank saw blade. I think it's well worth the upgrade even at $60, but $40 on sale is a steal. You can make the BIBURY even more useful by adding this Makita 8-piece socket set to make it easier to work with bolts and battery terminals. It's available in both metric and SAE, and I think this is a great thing to toss in the car. Sockets are even better when combined with a small ratchet, like this 711L, or their new swiveling head ratchet that lets you get into tight spaces. Unfortunately, the BIBURY bit holder isn't magnetic, so these can fall out unless you're careful, but I find this is a great combination, and it's just the right amount of tool to keep in your car. For an upgrade from the Makita sockets, I recently found this KESI 13-piece socket set that's packed into a compact, rugged metal box like the VH Go Box. Inside is a beefy 72-tooth ratchet with swivel head and 12 low-profile spline sockets that cover sizes 4 through 13 millimeter, with no skips and a few half sizes. There's a magnetic 1/4-inch bit holder at the end, so you can use this swivel as a quasi T-handle to get more torque on bits. It's made in Taiwan and costs $40 and is a nice upgrade to your car kit. There's a million other tools you could carry, like the Vera Tool Check Plus, but I want to keep the tools simple so everyone can buy this. I'll cover a few small things I recommend adding later in the video. In an emergency situation, a flashlight is an indispensable tool. And for years, I've carried this Suoki flashlight in the door of my car, and it served me well, but it's actually not a great flashlight. I bought it because it has this glass breaker hammer on the end and a seatbelt cutter, but honestly, this is not nearly as good as the ResQme. And the flashlight itself is pretty trash. Now, I'm not a flashlight expert, but I spent a bunch of time looking on Reddit and watching YouTube reviews from people that are. And over again, 2 brands came up as being a high-value flashlight with good quality. And that was Wurkkos and Sofirn, and so I reached out to those companies and asked them for some samples to review, and they were kind enough to send them along. First up is this Wurkkos FC12. It is a compact light that can output up to 2000 lumen, has USB-C charging, and an 18650 battery. It also comes with this nice reversible clip. The Wurkkos has a 2-button UI, which means that you first have to press the rear button to turn it on, and then you tap the front button to toggle through 4 brightness levels, or double-click for turbo. This Wurkkos light is incredibly impressive. It has so much throw and so much output for such a small flashlight. But I found that my favorite small flashlight of all is this Sofirn model because it can have a much broader, even light, which is perfect for lighting up the inside of a car or the area around your vehicle when you're working on things. The Sofirn SC29 is roughly the same amount of money, but puts out 3000 lumens of warm, even light. It has USB-C charging, a bigger 21700 battery. There's a magnetic base. It is a single-click button to turn on your previous brightness level, and then you hold it down to cycle between low, medium, and high. And if you double-click it, it will go into turbo. This puts out an extremely bright, warm, and even light that feels very similar to my iPhone's flashlight, but it's roughly 50 times stronger because it can put out 3000 lumen versus about 50 for your iPhone. Because it's less directional, it throws 214 meters on turbo and 136 meters on high, which is roughly a third less than the Wurkkos, but it still illuminates far into the distance. Both are great options, but personally I prefer the Sofirn simple UI and super even light over the deep row of the Wurkkos for use in my car. As an upgrade, the Sofirn IF23 steps up to a 4000 lumen flashlight, a 500 lumen side light with a warm color temperature, and it also supports full RGB spectrum of colors with this triple click, which is pretty fun. I like the rubberized shell, magnetic base, and the USB-C port has reverse charging so it can also be used as a power bank. The UI is as good as possible with a single button, but I think the button presses are just complicated enough that I'm worried people might struggle for a bit to figure out how to turn it on, so I'm going to keep this for myself, but not leave it in the car. Let me just say how blown away I am by how good flashlights have gotten in the last couple of years. Up until now, my good flashlight was this big Nebo 7Z that cost $50 when I got it 6 to 7 years ago. It takes 9 AA batteries, weighs 1.75 pounds. This thing only puts out 770 lumen, and it's absolutely massive. This tiny RovyVon A8 puts out roughly the same amount of light as this massive Nebo flashlight, and it's only the size of a tube of chapstick. I keep the multi-tool and flashlight in the driver's side door so they're at arm's length and easy to grab in an emergency. Although a flashlight is the main source of light that I like to keep in my car, it's also really useful to have a headlamp for close-up work, like when you're changing a tire or working on the engine and you need both of your hands free. I think it's worth spending more money on your flashlight and just getting yourself an inexpensive headlamp. I ended up picking these up on Amazon. This only cost $5 when it was on sale. This is rechargeable with USB-C and claims to offer 2500 lumen output, which seems a little ambitious. But it definitely is good enough to light up your work area when making repairs, but I'm not so sure they're going to handle that much abuse or last that long, but for the price, it sure is inexpensive. For something that will sit in my car just in case I need it, I think this is good enough for the job. But if you're willing to spend more on a proper headlamp, Sofirn makes a super bright and affordable headlamp that's only $30. It's basically a micro right angle flashlight that snaps into a pivot bracket. It's USB rechargeable, IPX waterproof, and can output 1100 lumen. It's really nice, and you could probably just get away with this alone since it's basically a flashlight you can wear as a headlamp. So it's double duty. If you're looking for an awesome headlamp that's very lightweight and rechargeable, the Nitecore NU25 is awesome. This costs $40, which is about the max I'm willing to spend. It has a 200 lumen spotlight for long throw, a 200 lumen floodlight for broad even light, and a 10 lumen red lamp. You can turn both the spotlight and floodlight on at the same time and have 3 levels to choose from up to 400 lumen. I really like the lightweight at only 56 grams, USB-C charging, IP66 rating, this handy power indicator, and the tilt bracket. This is my pick for a high quality, lightweight headlamp that is more of a traditional design, but it may be overkill just to keep in your car. I'm gonna go old school with this next recommendation and say you should keep a paper map in your car at all times. A paper map is essential if your phone dies or there just isn't cell coverage. I suggest going to a bookstore like Barnes & Noble so you can look at all of the maps in person to figure out which one is best for you. There's lots of different brands and each one has its own pros and cons. I'm going to show you a few different maps that I picked up so you can see the differences. National Geographic's maps are really nice with a coated surface, topography features, and attractions, but these cover really large regions like the entire Northeast. So I found it to be too zoomed out to see the roads that I would need to drive on. Michelin maps are good quality and are a bit more zoomed in, but looking at a city like Boston, it's a bit crowded and hard to read, and it cuts off the entire top of Maine, so that's not ideal for me. In my region, the Rand McNally map was just right. It shows all of New England clearly and has a lot more detail in the Boston metro area than the others. When choosing a paper map, pick one that includes a region large enough to cover where you might need to drive in an emergency. So look for at least a 4 to 6 hour driving radius from your home. It's also a really good idea to download offline maps if you're using something like Google Maps. Not everyone knows how to do this, so I'm going to walk you through it step by step. First, click on your profile avatar, choose offline maps, and then choose the select your own map option. Resize the map area to cover what you want, then hit download. Now you have a basic map that will work well without the internet. A Jumpstarter battery pack is a better option than jumper cables because you can jump yourself. There's no need to find another car and get it positioned nearby. Most of these also offer power bank features so you can recharge your phone if it dies. I've always been a fan of Gulu products for Jumpstarters. I've owned them for multiple years. When I was doing this video, I reached out to them and asked them if they'd send me a few to test. If you want a budget option, the Gulu GE1200 Jumpstarter is $90 and can be found for $70 on sale. It puts out 2,000 amps of power and is a really good basic starter if you have a small car. I used it to jumpstart my Prius and it worked great. If you can afford it, the Gulu GT4000 is a massive upgrade. It's my top pick because it puts out double the power at 4,000 amps, has a really great display that shows the input and output power. It offers 100 watts USB-C power delivery output that works as both a big power bank for phones and laptops and can be charged quickly from the wall. There's DC outputs and lots of high quality accessories. The only downside is the drawstring bag that comes with this isn't so great, so you might need to invest in a soft case like this. This jump started a Sprinter van like a charm, so it can definitely handle larger vehicles. A lot of times when you're trying to jumpstart a car and it doesn't work, it's probably because your terminals are corroded. If you have a lot of corrosion, you can rinse it off with hot water and baking soda, but this brush tool is really good for cleaning things up, and once you do, you can apply a layer of dielectric grease. I think a tire gauge and inflator is an important piece of equipment to have in your car because you end up needing to adjust tire pressure a lot. You can get a simple 12-volt inflator that plugs into your cigarette port for $20 to $40, but since the gauges on these can be pretty inaccurate, you also need to get a pressure gauge. I much prefer a battery-powered compressor because dealing with the cord is a pain, and all of these have LED displays that let you dial in the pressure you want. I've had this 18-volt compressor from Ryobi in my car for the last couple of years, and it's been pretty great, but it does cost $100 and it takes up a lot of space. This Gulu GT160 tire inflator is much smaller, so it fits better in my vehicle. It has a digital display that tells you the current pressure, so you can skip the pressure gauge, and there's a handy light. If you don't want to buy two different things, this Vitoman X7 Jumpstarter has a built-in air compressor, so it combines both of these tools into one box and can be found for as little as $110 on sale, so it's a really good budget option. If your car has a spare tire, make sure you have the tools and know how to change it.
Oh, that's not good.
Unfortunately, my Pacifica has run-flat tires, so I don't have a spare, but these are rated to go 50 miles an hour for 50 miles, even at 0 PSI. I also carry this tire kit to patch holes in the tread since I don't have a spare. I also keep a can of Fix-A-Flat just in case. Next, a first aid kit is something every vehicle should have. We keep a small box with hand sanitizer, tissues, and medicine like Advil in the front, so it's easy to access when driving. This first aid only kit is $21 and is a good starting point with medicines and bandages that you can beef up with a few life-saving additions like quick clot pads and more bandages. I've had this basic first aid kit in the back of my car for many years, and just been swapping out the medicines as they expire. But I thought it might be time to do something a little more ambitious that was more of a trauma kit. To do that, I just bought myself a few components on Amazon. I got this empty first aid kit on Amazon for $13 and filled the center compartment with supplies. There's a Ziploc bag on top with various bandages, alcohol wipes, and antibiotic cream for scrapes and cuts. Instead of buying those pre-made medication packets with strange names and tiny type, I've filled these small pill bags with medications and created labels for each that are very easy to read. Check out my video on this if interested. There's also an instant ice pack, and below that are things for trauma and blood loss. There's a cat-style tourniquet, compressed gauze, tape, quick clot gauze, an Israeli compression bandage, wound closure pack, CPR shield, gloves, and trauma shears. All of these require training, so it's important to learn how to use these properly or just stick to band-aids and medicines in your kit. I need a refresher myself. The cool thing is this bag is large enough that I can add some extra tools in the left pocket. There's ratchet straps, emergency blankets, duct tape, zip ties, a Sharpie, Bic lighter, and a WD-40 pen. I added this small tool to clean battery terminals and a small pill bag of dielectric grease. I also made this little box with common automotive fuses so I can swap these out on the road. You can buy a 300-piece assortment of micro, mini, and standard fuses for only $14, and that will save you a lot of money and heartache in the long run. In the right pocket, I decided to pack in some safety gear. A high visibility vest. I got a 2-pack of these LED road flares that you can place on the road and give people a heads up if you're pulled over. Although not an essential, an ODB scanner can be a really inexpensive way to know what's going on with your vehicle. These run diagnostics on your vehicle and decipher those generic engine light messages. This Xtool Advancer AD20 Pro is a tiny dongle that plugs into your ODB port and gives you a ton of diagnostic information that could save you a trip to the dealership. You just plug it into the ODB port on your car, download the app, and connect from your phone. Once you're in, you can see a ton of information about your vehicle and debug issues. I've also recently started keeping an AirTag in my car just in case it gets stolen. The AirTag should let you track your car and will let you report the location to the police. The best part about using an AirTag is the person that stole your car may be broadcasting your location through their iPhone. I think that's pretty cool. Lastly, you should keep some snacks and water in your car at all times. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have a huge prepper supply in your car, but you should have some snacks in case you get stranded for a few hours. We keep some nuts and protein bars in this front bin, and we have a can or two of water, but we don't get too carried away with survival since we're always pretty close to civilization. If you live in a hot climate, carry a lot more water, and if you live in a rural area, carry more of everything: food, water, tools, blankets, etc. If you happen to have a satellite communicator for hiking, like this Garmin InReach Mini, think about keeping that in your car so you can reach out for help where there isn't cell service. You just need a clear view of the sky. I don't think you should buy this just for your car, but if you already own it for hiking, you might as well get 2 uses out of it. I also live in a very cold climate, so in winter I carry some additional things in my car. In our minivan, we don't have a lot of storage space, so I have this collapsible bin that I keep in the back, and in that is my ice and snow scraper, a small aluminum shovel so I can dig the car out, a few blankets. I really like these ones that fold up into a stuff sack, some hand and foot warmers, and extra windshield wiper fluid to wash away salt from your windshield. I hope this video helps you figure out what to keep in your car to handle any emergency situation like a pro. Links to all the products are in the description. Thanks for watching, everyone.